Hey everybody, what's going on? My name is Paul. I started thediceyreview.com, and tonight I am going to show y'all how to play a two-player game designed by Uwe Rosenberg called Patchwork. This is one of my favorite games right now, and one that's hitting the table quite a bit because it's a hit with so many of my family members and my wife. They all really enjoyed this game. So here's the cover, so that you can know what to look for in the game store should you go. And this is one of a few games made by Uwe Rosenberg for two players. This is by far my favorite. This is actually one of my favorite two-player games, period, right now. It's very simple to pick up. The gameplay is really straightforward, but the game itself is very deep, and once you play it, the more and more you play it, you really kind of get to dive into the gameplay, and the more that you play it, you really learn these strategies that can unlock, higher point totals at the end, and it's just a really deep experience the more that you play it. So what I've done is I've kind of laid things out, how they're going to look at the start of the game, but what I want to do right now is I want to go over the basic setup of how you set the game up. Alright, so for setup, what you're going to do, half of it's already done. So you're going to have all these little patches, and what you'll do is you will lay them out in a circle around the main patch board here in the middle. And it doesn't matter what order they're in, you want it to be random. So you'll just set up all these patches in a circle around the board. And this is the main player board. Now this is, or the patch board, however you want to call it. This is double-sided. So on the other side, you'll see a different pattern, a different artwork. It doesn't matter at all which side you use. They have the same number of spaces, they have the same number of buttons, which like these little button symbols and these leather patch symbols, and these are different bonuses that you'll get during the game. It's whichever side you prefer. I kind of like the way this board looks better, so I use this one. Now what you'll do is you'll put this board out in the middle, and you'll see all these little spaces right here where you'll see these leather patches. What you'll do is the game actually includes 5 little leather patch tokens that you'll put on those spaces. It doesn't matter which one you put where, it's just so long as they're on those spaces, because when a player passes these spaces on the board, they're going to pick up that patch and get to use it immediately. And that'll help because later on you might find yourself in a situation where you just need one little patch to fill out a space. After that, each player is going to get 5 buttons to start the game, and this is your currency in the game. These are your points at the end of the game, and these buttons are what you use to buy patches throughout the game as well to fill out your board. So as you can see, each player has been given 5 buttons, and there's these little player markers, one for green, one for yellow. You're going to put them on the starting space up here, and then you're going to place that little wooden marker next to the 2x1 square. This will always be how the game starts out. Now this square can be anywhere in the circle of patches. Like I said, it's set up randomly, but this token will always start next to that little square. And the reason that this marker is important is this marker will move throughout the game, and it dictates which patches you can buy. So you can only buy the patches that are on this marker and the next 2. So essentially you have a choice of 3 patches that you can buy whenever, throughout the game. Because you can buy the one that this is right in front of and the next 2 after that. So at the start of the game, someone could buy one of these 3 patches. And when you buy a patch, this marker will move to the spot that was just emptied. So say for instance at the start of the game somebody bought this patch and it left. This marker would get moved right here, and then the next player would have the option to buy one of these 3 patches, and it would continue that way, so on, and however many patches you buy, it would just continue around the circle that way. So now that I've explained the setup, the game is ready to go. I want to talk a little bit about the actual gameplay, and it's very simple, but I want to explain a little bit how that works. Alright, so now that we've talked about the setup, we're going to talk about the gameplay. This game is very straightforward. What you're trying to do is you're trying to fill up your player board right here. You're trying to fill it up as much as you can, and you don't want there to be any open spaces, because at the end of the game, if you have any open spaces on your board, it's -2 points. So you want to try and fill up your board with patches. And what you can do is on your turn, you're going to have one of 2 actions that you can take. Now, you can buy a patch, and how you do that is you will spend some of your buttons, depending on what the patch says. that is how much it costs. So say, for instance, I'll pick one that I could buy here. Okay, so when you look at some of these patches, they're going to have two numbers on them. They're going to have a button, and then they're going to have an hourglass. The button right here is how much they cost. So I would have to pay 4 buttons to buy this patch. And then the hourglass is going to dictate how many spaces on the player track in the middle that I would have to move. So say, for instance, I bought this patch. I would pay my 4 buttons to the bank, and then I would move 6 spaces, like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that would be what would happen when I buy that patch. Now, another interesting thing happened on this track here. I passed one of these blue buttons in the spaces that I moved on. You're going to notice on some of these buttons that they have blue button markers on them. And what that means is that that's how many buttons this patch is going to generate every time your player marker passes one of these buttons on the track. So say, for instance, I had my player board down here. I had, I'll just put some out here just for an example. Let's say that I had this many patches out on my board and my quilt was starting to look like that. Anytime I pass one of these blue button markers on the track, any of these right here, I'm going to get however many buttons I have on my player board. So I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 buttons just to start off. And as you buy more patches and as you fill out your player board, that's going to continue to grow and grow. And so you kind of want to buy some button patches early that will help you kind of generate your engine to get more buttons at the start of the game so you can buy more later, etc. And you have to be careful with these that have a lot of buttons on them because they move you a long way on the track and you kind of want to manage your time. That's what this game is about. It's about managing your resources and managing the time. And so that's one action that you could take. The other action that you could take instead of buying a patch is, say, for instance, you don't have enough buttons to buy one of the patches that are out on the board. What you can do is you can move 1 space past your opponent and get that many buttons. Get a button for every space that you move. So say, for instance, yellow was needing to buy a patch, but they don't have enough buttons. What they could do is they could say, okay, I'm going to move 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces because I've moved 1 space in front of my opponent. And then that player would get 4 buttons because they've moved 4 spaces on the track. And you're going to continue to go around the track and buy patches, and the amount of patches that are available will shrink as the game goes on. And once you reach the end of the track right here, once you get to the middle, whoever has the most buttons wins. And now it's tricky because at the end of the game, you have to take 2 points away for every space that you don't have filled. And hopefully you have positive points. I know for the first couple games that we played, we actually had a negative score. But that's essentially how you play. And once you go around the circle and buy patches, you will slowly fill up your boards, and whoever has the most buttons at the end of the game wins. Now, one other thing to mention, I did say that there were these patches around the board. The same way, the same principle applies whenever you pass these patches that applies whenever you pass these buttons. The first player to pass one of these leather patches gets to pick it up immediately and put it on their board anywhere that they want to. And that's essentially the game. So once you get to the end, you score it up. Whoever has the most buttons after they've subtracted all of their empty spaces on their player board wins the game. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please remember that you can email me at thedicey@gmail.com. And please feel free to come by the blog and check that out and leave comments there as well. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Until next time, I'll see you at the table.